All right. Welcome to the Pinstripers podcast, a podcast about pinstripers hosted by two pinstripers. I'm one of your hosts, Jack Fleming.
And I am the other host, Freddie Villa. And today we have the great East Coast Artie coming out of Surfside Beach, South Carolina. And without further ado, here is the interview with Jack, Artie, and I.
Hello. Good morning, Jack. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Artie?
All right. Okay. Beautiful morning this morning here. So
it's wet and cold here.
Is it really? Oh man, it's 66 degrees here right now.
I guess it's not really cold. It's probably about that here, but it's just wet.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know it rained in Texas.
Well, welcome to the show, Artie.
Thank you.
We're already recording. Jack said he ran into you over there in Texas, huh?
Yeah. We do. I do a thing over there in Keller for a soldier got killed in Afghanistan, and his family puts on a car show, and I go down and I pinstripe and help raise some money for wounded warriors. So Jack came over and joined the big party, and we had a great time. It was really good. It was great. Yeah.
It was a really, really good car show. For people listening, that's the Alex Viola car show.
Yeah, it's actually, they can find online under the Alex Viola Foundation, and I think there's a link to that to their car show and stuff like that. Very emotional show to me, because they have all the guys in his unit are there, and then they released the doves, and they have the bagpipers play, and they have the flyover, and it's just it's a neat thing, but it's a sad thing at the same time, So, but I'm really proud to be part of it. I've become kind of a member of their family, and they're just wonderful people, So it's really cool.
Well, it sounds like a great cause. Anytime I run into a veteran, I know somebody's a vet. I always thank them for their service because I don't think they get enough thanks in general. I don't think they should pay taxes personally. If they're gonna go serve, I think they should at least not pay taxes anymore.
I tell you, my wife is 10 years younger than me, and I'm a vet. I was in the Navy back in Vietnam, and my wife to this day cannot understand why we have to have things like wounded warriors and all. It's like, why doesn't our country take care of our people? But that's the same in history. That's gone on for ages, I guess, But yeah, I wish they could do a lot more for the vets. They could if they wanted to, but it doesn't seem to be a popular subject. So as far as with Congress goes.
Well, at least there's pinstripers and sign painters out here that we can help out and do what we can, right?
Absolutely. I say this. If everybody in this country took one day out of their life to do something charitable for an organization or locally, anything like that, we wouldn't have to have half of these organizations. It would take care of itself, but people, I don't know. Some people are different, I guess. Everybody's got different priorities, So I love what I do.
Given what it is, it's kind of one of the really interesting things about the whole car culture deal is I go to car shows almost every weekend, and I can't think of one I've been to that doesn't support some sort of charity in some sort of way.
Right. Absolutely.
And people are glad to do it and happy to do
it. Without getting into a whole bunch of psychology on it, but there's a real parallel between the military and guys who build cars. It takes discipline. It takes organization. It takes your time and the dedication and everything. So it doesn't surprise me that car culture or car people support charities and stuff, because I think it's all the same mindset. So it's good. I'm just glad that we do it. We did this past weekend. I had my Artie's Christmas party. We had on a Sunday morning for just 9 until 11, just for a couple of hours. I had 102 cars come out, and we supported two local charities. They're local branches. Let's put it that way. One is Fostering Hope, which is a a store that actually, when a kid goes into the foster program, they usually leave home with nothing. And they set up this, looks like a department store where they can go in and shop for clothes and toys and school supplies and whatever they need, and it's free. So we gave them 3 truckloads of toys this weekend. And then Blue Star Mothers, which is a national group that sends packages to soldiers overseas, not just in combat, just everyday things, just to get a package from home. And we gave them 2 station wagons full of food and healthcare products and things like that, things that they just can't walk into a store in Kabul, for example, and pick up, So that was cool. I love doing it.
That was cool.
Well, hey, sorry about that. I messed with my volume. It kind of threw me off. So, Artie, so how do we get started with everything, Artie? Where were you at when you first started on pinstriping? Let's take it all the way back.
Okay, this is ancient history now.
That's what we want. We want the beginning.
Yeah, my start is, to me, is very cool. It's just one of them things. I was really, to go to the very beginning, I was 8 years old. And my dad, who was from Germany and had a German accent, and during World War II, living here in America, he was not treated really well because of the German accent. He lost a good job and all. But anyway, on Saturdays, he would go to his cousin Charlie's house and sit and drink coffee, because that's about the only social life that he really had. And my mom would send me along, I guess, to get me out of the house. And Charlie had a son, Charlie Jr., who they called Sonny. And Sonny had just come home from the Korean War. And Sonny had a 41 Ford Coupe out in the garage. And every weekend I would go out and I would sit there and I'd watch them literally take the body off the chassis and all. They wound up channeling the car. They sectioned it, put a padded Carson top on it. I mean, the car was gorgeous. By the time it was done, it's funny. I see all these traditional custom cars in the magazines, and this car was the epitome of it. It was really beautiful. So he used to send me home with the magazines every weekend. And then when I was 13 years old, we were out for one of our Sunday rides, and we passed this body shop, and here was this white Pearl car sitting in the front, looked like it was about 40 foot long. And I wanted to stop and look at it. My dad didn't go that way, so we wound up going home. And a couple of days later, I got on my bicycle and I rode about 7 miles up and down hills in Prospect Park, New Jersey, to go down to this body shop and see this car. And it was a 52 Lincoln, and it was called the Pearl. And while I was there, the owner kind of took me under his wing. I'm going to try to abbreviate this a little bit. Took me under his wing. I would go there on weekends, and the place had a dirt floor in it, and I'd go in and rake the floor up, pick up all the parts, and clean the place up, and he would take me to car shows. And one weekend, well, it was during the week, he said to me, you coming down Saturday? I said, yeah. He said, Kenny the Mad Striper is coming from Philadelphia to stripe a car that we have sitting here. And the car turned out to be Harry Bradley's La Jolla, which later on went on to become a famous car. Harry was a designer, and in all the little magazines, you see all these articles on custom headlights, taillights, all the Harry Bradley's were. And so then he came to stripe the car, drove 2.5 hours. This is cool. 2.5 hours to stripe this car. He did it. I was all over him, trying to watch what he was doing and all. He gets done. Tony, the man who owned the body shop, said to him, let Artie try that. Let him have the brush. And he was kind of like, but he begrudgingly handed it to me. And he said, no, show him how you rub it on that piece of paper and everything, that's a palette. And so he did that, and he gave me the brush, and I did some probably really horrible lines. And I went to hand the brush back to him. And Tony said to him, no, Kenny, let him have that brush. And this is a kicker. Kenny said, well, like he didn't want to do it. And Tony said, I just paid you $30 to stripe this car, and you can let him have that brush. This guy drove 2 hours to stripe a car for $30. But that was like 1957, I guess it was. So I kept the brush, kept it on a piece of glass on the windowsill, go down after school, clean up the floor, do all my stuff. And then Tony put a 47 Studebaker fender on a sawhorse, and that was mine. And I actually learned how to weld on it. I learned how to do lead work. I learned how to do body work. I mean, it was great. And then I pinstriped the living daylights out of it. And that's where it started. I was 13. And by the summertime, I was striping cars in our driveway for $25 a crack. And I have 3 or 4 cars out there, and never stopped. I've been striping ever since. So that's my story.
That's awesome. Is that fender still around somewhere?
Ah, God, I wish it was. I wish the brush was around. I really wish I still had it. If I remember, it was an old Dominican brush with the metal wrapping on it and all, but it was cool. And that's how I got my start. Ironically, Harry Bradley, the man who owned that car, like I said, went on to teach at the Art Institute, I think in Pasadena, and was Chip Foose's art teacher. Oh, and so a lot of what Chip does drawing-wise, I do very similar. I'm not going to say I'm as good as him because that's a long shot. But Harry used to go to the car shows. He had polio, and he was in a wheelchair. And he'd go to the car shows, and with a piece of crescent board, he would do a 3-point perspective view of your car with prismatic pencils. And I think he charged like $25 for it, something like that. And I used to be looking over his shoulder all the time. And finally one day he turned and I said, what is it you want anyway? I said, I want to learn how to draw chrome like that. And he taught me 3-point perspective and horizon lines and the whole gamut. And so I have to really thank these guys and my high school art teacher also, because they were the ones who made me what I am today.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't. I got a chance to do a little bit of art in school as well, and it kind of did open my eyes to the beauty of different aspects of the art world. But I didn't pursue it much outside of school. I actually didn't get around to messing around with this stuff until I became an adult. So it's awesome to hear people that started very, very young.
Well, I learned something at an early age, too. When I started high school, I was only 4'11". I was the smallest kid in the class. And I think I grew a foot in a year, which my mother had. I think that's how they invented Bermuda shorts, because I couldn't keep in pants. But I found out early on, I was out in the high school parking lot after school, painting Rocky J. Squirrel on a 58 Pontiac convertible. I'll never forget it. And I did it with silver tester's paint with a tester's brush. And I did it in Old English letters. And next day, went into art class, and my teacher, Mr. Sinecki, said to me, why'd you do that in Old English? I said, because it's cool. And on the table, he took a pencil and he did the throw script of Rocky J. Squirrel. And he said, that's cool. I said, yeah. He said, you want to learn how to do that? And I said, yeah. And he was a part-time sign painter. Oh, wow. So for 4 years of high school art, he taught me. I painted every banner for every trip, every thing that the guys ran through on the football field and all that nonsense. And also the mechanical drawing teacher who had come to our school was a young guy just out of college, didn't really know anybody, very shy kind of guy. And Mr. Sinecki kind of befriended him, and they would talk about me. So in my mechanical drawing classes, I was getting a lot of perspective, vertical perspective, horizontal, horizon points, all that stuff. So between them teachers, they just fed me all through high school. And I can't thank them enough for what came out of all of this. I think about them still today. It's pretty crazy, but it's great. It's made for a wonderful life. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it looks like you've been able to travel all over the place through this art form.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I don't know if it's always the right place at the right time or what, but some time ago, I was working for the state of Colorado and running a sign shop for the prison system. And I met at a trade show, I met Bill Crowley from Sign Gold Company, which is the 23 karat gold vinyl. And Bill saw my badge that I was a state employee, and he kind of lit up. And he sent me some of the product, and it was terrible. It didn't work. It was too thick. It was heavy. And I started working with Bill to get it better. And in consequently, he started hiring me to go do trade shows and do open houses at sign supplies and all. And I traveled a lot, and which is what really put me out in front of the public. And I started doing a seminar called Surviving in the Sign Business, which I put on at shows for quite a few years. And it was just, these nudges from all of these people. And it just kept going. And then after the sign thing, I worked with Gerber for a while, doing the Vanna White bit at shows for them and demonstrating. And then kind of just fell back into the hot rod world again as that tapered off and started doing car shows and stuff again. And then PPG has always been a big supporter of mine. So I was with them at SEMA Show and a couple other groups that I did the shows with, which is what gave me a lot of exposure and put me out in front of people and really just kind of made my career, I guess you would say. So I've been lucky. I always say it's the right place and the right time.
And those guys are the ones that own One Shot, correct?
PPG, yes, has owned One Shot for a few years now. It's been stumbling. They've been going through, and then COVID hit and stuff like that. But I don't mind saying it. I've been a One Shot guy since I'm 13 years old. And on occasion, I use Custom Shop. And the reason I use some of the Custom Shop stuff is it's very quick drying. If I have a situation where I need to get something out right away, I'll use that. But for the long haul, it's always been One Shot paint. And because you brought this up about PPG, it's been kind of hard because they took it over and they're a multi-billion-dollar company and One Shot's just this little piece. Actually, when they bought it, they didn't even know that they bought it. They bought it from the company that owned it, that had a couple other products that they wanted, a silvering for doing windows and stuff like that, and a powder coat. And so when they got the One Shot, it kind of shuffled around a little bit at first, and then COVID hit. But they're back in full production. Ironically, there's a chemical that goes in all of One Shot paint, including their clears and everything else, that comes from outside the United States. And when the whole thing came apart with COVID and all, they couldn't get it. And consequently, when they did get it, the bulk of it was sent to fleet and to automotive and to the bigger dollar areas. So One Shot was kind of on the high end, or on the hind end, I should say, for quite a while. But it's gotten back together. It's doing really well. So it's all good.
They probably didn't know that they had purchased such an endeared product. Right?
They didn't. No, they didn't. And ironically, I mean, I'll go into this a little bit if you want. If you can picture this, this company does this acquisition, and the people who do the acquisitions naturally are not sign painters and pinstripers and stuff like that. So they bought the company and they realized they have One Shot, and they said, what do we do with it? And it's a sign paint. Well, who do we have in our realm? So they have Matthews Paint, which makes the cabinet paint, for your light boxes and stuff like that. So they put it under Matthew, and it really should have gone under automotive right in the beginning, but I don't make them decisions. And so consequently, the people who were handling it for a long time are not pinstripers, sign painters, don't understand that you need it today kind of thing. But that's really getting sorted out. Automotive has been a lot more involved in it, and it's still going. So thank God, as long as we keep that paint coming out, that's what's important. And also, I'm going to throw something in here. I understand that guys like myself and you guys, we do our work, and it's nice to be recognized for your work, and it's nice to get acknowledged for what we do and stuff like that. It's part of what we do it for. Let's face it. There's a little bit of ego in everybody. Well, these other companies have come along and said, "Hey, use my paint," and we'll take you to shows, or we'll give you paint and stuff like that. And a lot of guys have done that. And I guess they're happy with what they're doing. But the one mistake that I see people make is bashing other products.
Yeah, that's never
if you
good.
if you don't like One Shot, that's fine. Just don't use it. If you don't like Ronin, don't use it. If you like Alpha, whatever, I mean, that's fine. But don't knock the other products because you never know when you're going to need them, guys.
I think I think Jack and I are in big agreement with that. That was one of the rules that we were going to try to push across or try to avoid with our podcast was bashing anything. There are products that we do use also, and I'm still a One Shot guy. I still like One Shot. I also use Alpha, but I'll use anything that's usable. So
sure.
Yeah, same here.
And
go ahead.
I'm open to new products. I'm always open to try stuff. I mean, I've tried, you name it. I've tried it, and being so much in the public like I am, I'm approached a lot by people, hey, try this and, see what you think and stuff like that. I have always gone by a kind of a thing that if I don't use a product, I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. Good or bad. I just don't do that. I don't think it's professional at all. I am a professional sign painter. Or professional pinstriper. You can call me either one. And this isn't a hobby for me. It's my job. It's what I get up and I do most every day. And I run my business and I approach it in a professional manner. So because of that, like I said, don't run down the other guy's stuff or anything like that. No, just do what you do.
Yeah, because in the end, you're taking kind of money out of people's families' mouths and such like that, and then who knows what they're trying to do with their product? Maybe they're working on it, making it better.
Absolutely,
there's some brushes that I had gotten once or twice. I've gotten brushes that were not very usable, but I didn't go online. I didn't go, hey, look, this is crap. I did not. I just stopped using them. I mean, there's just some stuff out there that's subpar. Maybe they had just a bad batch. You could try them again later. But to go out there and trash talk people, especially online, it kind of leaves it not only it kind of looks bad on mostly on the person trash talking, because then it makes you think, well, are they always going to do that with everybody, with everything? Is that the type of person that they are? It doesn't look that good.
Over the years, I have, and I mean this, I have been fortunate, very fortunate, to work with the Gold Leaf Company, the Gold Leaf Vinyl Company, Sign Gold, and Gerber Scientific, which has always been the Rolls Royce of the computer plotters, and they invented them. And I say the reason that I worked for them people, and the reason those people handed me money, is because I always acted in a professional manner, and I always treated their product accordingly. And there's been times when I've been at trade shows where people come up and just stand there and rip the living daylights out of something, and you know that they're wrong. You know that they did something wrong. I mean, it's in their explanation, but I still have to stand there and smile and say, let me tell you how this would work better. And over the years, I come to find out too that people, including stripers, there's some people that go from 0 to 7, and there's some people that go to 0 to 9, and some people that go 0 to 10, and there's all in between there, and there's all different levels of expertise and ability, and you name it. The guy who might not be a good striper today, tomorrow might kick your butt at a car show because all of a sudden he gets it or something like that. And that's something that more and more with the internet just drives me nuts, because everybody has an opinion, which everybody's entitled to, but it's like, if you don't agree with my opinion, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, and that's just so absolutely wrong. It's pathetic.
Yeah, people just don't want to look at other folks' point of view. You gotta be open to other people's point of view and put yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just, I think in everything in general. But the internet's so compressed. Everybody's putting out every single thought that they've ever had.
Yep. So, we're doing this on the internet, incidentally, aren't we?
Yeah. We are doing that exactly.
But no, it's serious. And like what you guys are doing here, to me is a great asset for people out there to take advantage of, because just these conversations like you hold with guys, you get a lot of information out. And if you take the right stuff and you pick and choose out of it, it's got to help you. Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Artie, we don't edit nothing, so.
Oh, boy. So I can't say nothing bad about Howie, huh?
Oh, you can talk bad about Howie. He's our friend. He's cool.
Everybody talks bad about it. And Howie's not on the internet, so we can say anything we want. Now, wow. Howie is one of my dear friends. We've known each other since we're like 15 years old. Howie and his wife have come on vacations with us at our house down here at the beach, and we go and stay at their place, and we go back and forth, and we travel together as part of the Pinstripe Police. And he's just a good guy, and he's an incredibly talented person too. So, well, I'll even say nice things about him because he can't hear us.
Well, Howie was actually one of the people that popped into our heads when Jack actually mentioned doing this stuff, because this is all Jack's idea. I'm kind of just backing his play. But
just blame him.
Yeah. But Howie was one of the people that we thought, man, he's so cool. I wonder, let's pick his brain a little bit. Let's see how he started. What's his past?
I have a picture of Howie at the New York Coliseum. I think he was 17 years old, doing weirdo shirts, like the Ed Roth type shirts with magic markers. And then airbrushing colors in and stuff like that. Howie was an art teacher in high school. That was probably brought up when you talked to him.
Yes,
but a very, very talented guy, and we have a lot of fun together. We really do. I call him my Jewish grandfather. And there's a great picture of him and I sitting at TV trays in our living room in our house. Eating a snack, and we looked like the two old guys at the nursing home eating Jell-O salad or something next to each other, And but yeah, no, Howie's a good guy and talented guy too. So good friend, can't beat him. And let's see what else.
Jack, I think Jack was trying to chime in there. I thought.
I'm sorry. I'm talking too much.
Right. We haven't really got ourselves too organized on how we're doing this.
That's fine. This is cool. This is to me, this is great, because even when I do, when I'm at the shows or I do the charity auctions and stuff like that and all, in order for me to function correctly, I just blank that all out and just make believe I'm having a conversation with somebody.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I'd just be standing on the stage drooling and look like a complete fool, so... But,
I was going to mention a couple of things. One, I think it was really cool that you mentioned your high school art teacher, and just how many people we've talked to that talk about that. As a former high school art teacher myself, and that was, again, kind of part of stuff with this, is whenever we first met you and Howie, me and Howie hit it off immediately because we sat there and talked about teaching art.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And ironically, too, Mr. J, Julian Brait, Excalibur brushes and all. Jay went to the same high school that I did, but he was a year behind me. And he had the other art teacher, Mr. Kuziera. And because, I don't know if it's because they worked together or what, but there's so much of what came out of there that's similar between Jay and I. And work. And then we're both, and I'm not taking credit for anything here, but we're both Jersey style sign painters, and pinstripers, and we both came up doing the race cars and stuff like that and all. Something I think has really, really pushed me over the years is growing up in an area where within a 30-mile radius, you have people like Rich Dombey, Bert Quimby, Mr. J, Glenn Weisgerber, Howie, Mikey Fredericks. I mean, you got to be on top of it in order to get anywhere with these guys, and we've all been dear friends for many, many years, and we've all kind of motivated each other along. So I'm real grateful for that too.
But that leads to a really interesting question, I think. We've talked to, like, Craig Judd, and we talked about the Fresno style and all. Would you say that there is a Jersey style of pinstriping?
I don't think there's any style of pinstriping to a particular area. I know Craig real well, and he's really talented, and he has a style. And up in that Fresno area, used to be, he passed away, sorry, but Harry Malacott, whose son is still striping and carrying on, Rick Malacott. But I think that as far as like a jersey style, it's more in the lettering than it is in the pinstriping.
Right.
The combination of the airbrushing, the drop shadows, and things like that we all, that Glenn Weisgerber just perfected. And Bert Quimby has taken this to a whole nother planet as far as I'm concerned. If you see what Bert is turning out truck lettering wise,
yeah, it's probably just my favorite on the planet.
Absolutely phenomenal. I said to him, I said it about a month ago, he is really the master of the jersey style. And that's not taking anything away from Glenn Weisgerber, because Glenn is still Glenn. But Bert has, on a commercial sense, just completely gone leaps and bounds ahead of everybody with it. But style-wise, in jersey, I think our style is based more on sarcasm than anything else. It's really funny. Tell you a little quick one, if you don't mind. We were in Buffalo, New York at a car show. Mr. J, Julian, and Mikey Fredericks and I went, and somebody told us about a diner that was like 14 miles out of downtown Buffalo for breakfast. It's a great place. So we said, oh, yeah, okay, we're going to go. Well, we're getting ready to leave to go from the hotel, and Mark Madzikowski from Rochester, New York, who is just great artist, incredibly good artist, kind of just a shy guy kind of guy, said, I said, hey, Mark, you want to go to breakfast with us? He goes, yeah, cool. So he gets in the back seat with Mikey. I'm driving. Jay's in the front seat. We pull out of the motel. We're going, here's this really horrible hand-painted sign on a building. I turned around, Jay, I said, geez, I didn't know you worked all the way up here. You worked us everywhere. And that started it. And we busted each other's chops all the way to this damn diner. I mean, we just didn't let up on each other. And we get there and we get out of the car, and Mark turns around to Mikey Frederick, says, do you guys talk like this all the time? Mikey says, what? Yeah, we're friends. And it's the truth. I mean, that's how it is. It's sometimes it's like a 3-ring circus when we all get together. It's kind of crazy, but that's cool. That's what makes it. That's the memories, so to speak. It's good stuff.
I always feel if you can't talk trash to your friends, then you must not be friends.
That's right. That's right. And I have I have an ad. As a matter of fact, I wore a T-shirt yesterday that said "Sarcastic Lives Matter." I just I try to see humor in everything. There's a lot of lousy stuff in the world that we deal with, so I kind of look to the side that makes me laugh, and I enjoy laughing. So.
I think it's a good way to get through life. I think if you can laugh through any situation, you can really think about it more than the people that just get angry and frustrated and walk away.
Yep. So, absolutely.
Who were some of the first people that you came across that were also doing pinstriping, like your peers early on? Who were the first guys that you kind of ran into?
Naturally, first was Kenny the Striper. Like I said, the guy who gave me that brush. And then, oh my goodness, from Long Island, Andy Southard, who wound up living in California. He's still out there. Andy was an early influence on me. Russ Mowry, who was one of the Jersey guys also. And probably, Johnny Pallone and the House of Pinstripe in New York. And I liked them because not only was their work good, but their craziness. I mean, they were just really cool guys and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And then in the magazines and all, naturally, it was Larry Watson and Tommy Kelly and Tom Stratton, who was highly underrated. Stratton was, back in the day, Von Dutch gets a lot of credit. And at the same time that Dutch was doing it, there was guys like Tom Stratton and the Baron, Tom Kelly's grandfather, and guys like that who were already doing this kind of stuff out there, in California. So everybody that I meet has influence on me. I mean, and I mean this sincerely. Meeting you guys, the first we met was in Ohio at that museum show that we did, and when I meet or I see somebody's work that really impresses me, I have to meet them. Try to pick your brain a little bit, but at the same time, there's a thing between us. I don't want to call it a brotherhood because these terms are used too much, but there's a thing between us because we all know what it takes to pick up this brush and to create on the spot like that and to have good consistency to our work and stuff like that and all. So I think just right there develops a lot of mutual respect between us all.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it so unique too. I mean, Jack, I became instant friends with. And then this deal in Texas that we just did just really bonded it all together. And I'm sure Jack and I will be friends for a long, long time until he stops lending me money because I'm not kind of more. But no, seriously, the people that I have come to know in this business, I'll call it, it's what really makes my life. I look forward to talking to everybody. Every time I go out to California, which is a few times a year, it's like family reunion. We'll get together and talk and joke and eat food and have a good time and paint. And that, to me, that's what it's all about. And I'm very fortunate that I have a wife who's very understanding and something will come up and I'll say, wow, this is going on out at the Roadster show or something. And she says, go ahead, go. And sometimes the money's not always there for the plane ticket to go out there, but somehow she surprises me, and she comes up with it. So biggest supporter that I could possibly have is my wife, Linda. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we definitely got to give a shout out to the ladies in our lives. So
absolutely,
thank you, Nikki, for also supporting, and thanks to Juliana for letting me bother Jack all the time. When we did that book, the Advanced Pinstripe Techniques with Jay and Mikey and Howie and me and Zeke and Nubs, in the front. One of the dedications that I put in there was we want to thank our wives for letting us go out and play, because that's basically what it is. We shut our shops and we get on an airplane and go someplace, and of course it's all work what we're doing, but if it wasn't for the support of them, we couldn't do what we do. Simple as that. This is very true. And you mentioned the book. When did the book come out, and how did that come about?
Oh boy, you're gonna get me on this one now. I'm trying to remember how many years. Yeah, how many years ago. I guess it's been probably maybe almost 10 years ago. Tim Wolf is Wolfgang Press, who was at the time was out of Stillwater, Michigan, was doing books. He does books on motorcycles, all kinds of stuff, and he was doing books on pinstriping. And I don't even remember where I met him, but he asked me if I would contribute a step-by-step to a book, and that was called, I think, just Pinstripe Techniques. Wizard's in it, Joe Kosmowski is in it, a bunch of us. And I was fortunate enough to get a chapter in there. And then after that, about a year later, Tim called me and he said, look, I'd really like to do a book on you and all your stuff. And I didn't want to do that because that's a lot of work, So I said, I'd like to do it. I said, but can I have some other people in the book with me? Some of my friends. And they said, yeah, sure. So he flew Zeke, Lemansky, Howie, Mikey Fredericks, Nubs, and Mr. J, flew them all down here to South Carolina and put them up in a hotel right down here, down the street on the beach. And we each did a project for the book. And I think actually we each did 2 projects for the book. And the book is called Advanced Pinstriping Techniques. I believe you can still find it on Amazon. Every once in a while I've seen them come up for like $25 or something like that. But we just had an absolute ball doing that book, and I'm going to save the story until later because I know you want me to do that later on. But we had a great time putting the book together, and then you think you make big money on these things. You don't make any money. You get a case of books, which is okay. But the cool thing about it, and the part that made me feel so good about doing this way, is all of us are at the time, and we're in the 60s. Let's face it, we're getting close to 70 years old or over. I'm 77, but we're all getting up there in age. And book deals like this and all are kind of few and far between. So this way, I got to share it with my friends. We all got a book deal. Let's put it that way. And we all got to be part of a book that went out. And it still amazes me. Linda and I were in Milan, Italy, some years ago, doing the International Graphics Show. They had booked me to come over there, and I did a thing on old and new technologies of gold, between hand-laid gold leaf and like the sign gold kind of stuff and all that. And I had a guy come up to me from Armenia with a copy of the book in his hand and wanted me to sign it.
Wow.
And I know that there's been over 5,000 printed. And I think they did a second printing of it too, if I'm not mistaken. But to think that book is out all over the world in people's hands is pretty cool. It's a pretty neat thing. I had a guy who works at the maintenance department for the town of Surfside here down the street, went over and did a tour of duty over in Iraq. And when he left there, he stopped in London for a couple of days to just kind of R&R, and he decided to get a tattoo of his rock adventure, as I call it. And he goes in this tattoo parlor and he says, I want to get this put on my arm. And the guy says, yeah, no problem. Have a seat. I'll be with you in a few minutes. He's tattooing somebody else. A guy walks in the shop, another guy, an English guy, and talking to the tattoo artist and says, hey, man, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And the guy says to him, is your car done yet? He goes, yeah, I got it. It's all finished. But he says, I'm just waiting for the striper to lay some lines on the car. And the guy says, he said, but I got to wait for him to come over from America, because he only comes over once a year or so. And so he said, but as soon as you get, when he gets here, we'll get it done. And the tattoo artist turns around and says, oh, yeah, cool. He says, Artie's a good striper. And this guy's sitting there and he goes, Artie, are you talking about Artie from South Carolina? Yeah, East Coast Artie. And he opens the drawer and pulls the book out, the tattoo artist.
Oh, wow.
And this guy come home and he goes to the chief of police, who's a friend of ours, and he says, these guys know who Artie is in England, man. This is crazy. This is great. So it was pretty neat. It's neat when you hear things like that, I guess, so.
That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anybody that catches this bug is always looking for any information, or like always looking for pinstriping in general. So any book, any information, anything you spot, you nab it up.
Absolutely.
And you get excited about it. And I think maybe even, I would imagine, especially before the internet, it's got to be scarce to get your hands on a physical book to physically learn something without somebody telling you.
Yeah, unless you know somebody who has it or knows it or what. And that's been one of the good things about this whole internet thing, is the fact that so much information is getting out to everybody. Some of it ain't so good, but pick and choose, take the good stuff. I'll be the first one to admit it. I steal from people like it's going out of style. We all do. Color combinations. Steve Chazek, a wizard. I've taken more away from him than I've ever given him. We're good buddies, but his color palette is just off the wall. I love it. And like in the case of you, Jack, I just love your clean, tight striping style. So you take a little here, you take a little there, and then you wind up trying to make it your own, I guess, so without getting anybody upset too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, Steve.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. And the other thing I just thought about is, sometimes I think with this art, it's like such a, you kind of have to do it in such a way that even if you get bad information, it's going to weed itself out I think,
sure,
over time.
Yep, I do too. Yes, I do too. But that's the word, though, time. I don't think anybody has it or wants to spend the extra time. We want to get to do what we do, so you're kind of on a push for it. But I still, I walk around car shows, and I did it Sunday at my cruise here. Walk around, I see a car with striping on it. I'm looking for a signature. I want to know who did that, because there's something there. And when they don't sign them, it really gets me. And there was just a thing on Facebook about somebody said you shouldn't sign stuff. People are paying you to do this, and they don't want your name on it and all. That's a lot of crap, man. I sign everything I do. I'm proud of what I do,
Everyone asks for it too, it seems like.
Yeah.
Sign it? Are you going to sign it?
Yeah. I had one, and I put it on Facebook here a couple months back, maybe 6 months or so, a golf cart that I did for these people, and they came to pick it up, and the lady was kind of a tough one to deal with anyway, but she looks at it, she goes, very nice, and she points to my signature, which is... It's an eighth of an inch tall, and she goes, what's that bird crap?
Oh,
I said, it's not bird crap. That's my signature. She says, does it come off? I says, it could. She said, take it off. And I said, you're the first person over 60 years that have asked me to take my signature off. She said, there's a first time for everything.
Oh, man.
And I went and got lacquer thinner, and I came out and I wiped it off, and I took the money out of her husband's hand, walked in the door, slammed the door behind me, and locked it, and left them out in the parking lot. And when I posted this, and I was, making comments about it, the best one I can think of, Phil Whetstone from out in California said to me, he says, what I would have done is wiped off everything and left your signature and said, if you want that off, it's $150. But it's okay. It's everybody to their own, I guess. It's just, I think you should sign stuff, though.
I had a little job here recently, a motorcycle that I did actually quite a bit of work on it. And, customer came, picked it up, super happy and everything. He sent me a message the following day. He said, I can't find your signature on anywhere. I said, it's there. Keep looking. Yeah. And eventually he ended up sending me a picture of where he found it. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. And I do that. I get that from people, they say, will you sign it? I've actually had people say, sign it bigger. I said, no, I don't do that. I don't want to. I like it nice and small. And it's like I said, I'm proud of what I do. I'm not I am so far from being the best striper in the world. There's so many people way ahead of me, and I'm finding also, and I'll admit it, I'm 77 years old, and it's not that I shake or anything like that, but when I have to do like something where I'm low on the side of a car or something like that, or a motorcycle, I have to have somebody. There's got to be two of us, one to do the striping and the other one to get me off the floor. Getting up and down is getting kind of hard because I busted myself up over the years, but it's all good. It's still makes me happy. That's the main thing. I still love what I do. So
I've got a question real quick, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Kind of, I guess, maybe a little change of a subject. A lot of people know Artie's Party. And yes. I was wondering if you could tell us the history there of Artie's Party and what.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, we stopped it 2 years ago. Okay. I should start out with that. We did it for 14 years. And the reason, well, I'm going to go backwards, do it that way. So I'll just start at the beginning. Bob O'Connor is a gentleman who put on the Syracuse Nationals car show. And the Syracuse Nationals is a show that came about because the National Street Rod Association had done a show in Syracuse, New York. And for whatever reasoning, they decided to stop and they pulled out. And so there was no car show there. Now, I got to explain. Syracuse, New York has a average temperature, they average about 50 days of sunshine a year. And the rest of the time, it's lake effect snows. Believe me, it's brutal up there. But yet, they'll hold a car cruise in February, and 200 cars will come out. Even though it can be like 15 degrees outside. These guys just want to go places with their cars. So there was an association up there, still is. It's the Central New York State Car Club Association. And they had a meeting and they said, wow, it's too bad somebody can't put on a show again. We need a show here. And Bob O'Connor turned around and said, I'll do it. I'll put it on, not knowing what he was getting into. He was in the monument business, grave markers and stuff like that. Well, Bob put on that first show and it just took off. And I mean, it was crazy. And also the proximity to Canada, the Canadian guys came down and stuff like that. So they decided to put on some other shows and they decided to put one on down here in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. I went down the Stripe at it. I met Bob. And Bob said, you have a shop? And I told him, and he says, oh, man, I'd love to come by your shop. So he comes to my shop that evening, all the artwork hanging on the wall by different people. I was doing Artie's party here at the shop as just a get-together. I invite everybody to come in, and we paint, and, like you usually do at your shops. The only difference with ours here is with my wife being Italian, instead of the beer and pizza, it was eggplant parmesan and antipasto, and God, you name it. She put out a spread of food. So I don't think they came because they liked me. I think they came because of Linda's food. But we had like 40 people here. Well, anyway, you know how you swap artwork. So I have a bunch of panels hanging on the wall by different people on 2 of the 3 walls. And Bob O'Connor sees all this and says, wow, is this all your work? I said, no, it's friends. And I explained to him what this was and what we did. And he said, that's so cool. He said, I'd like to have you do that at the Syracuse Nationals so that people could see this. I said, yeah, that could be a cool idea. And we talked a little bit more about it. And then that was it. And a couple of weeks later, he flew me up there. We went to the fairgrounds. We looked for a building, and we found this horticulture building that was just really gorgeous, without air conditioning. And we decided to go ahead and do it. So the first year that we did it, I said, if we're going to do this, I'd like it to be a charity event. So the first year we did it for a group called Parents Plus, who, when a kid loses a parent, a lot of times the soccer practice goes away, or the piano lessons go away, or this or that, because there's just not time. They step in and mentor and keep them things going for kids. I said to the guy who ran that organization, they were brand new, and I said, maybe we can give you $2,000 or $3,000. That'll help you out. And he says, oh, that would be great. We did $33,000 that first year. It was to the point where they didn't know what to do with the money, literally. I mean, they were just kind of dumbfounded. And it was so successful. Bob said, well, you're going to do this again, right? And so the next year we did for the McMahon Ryan House, which is a child abuse center there in Syracuse, New York, which handles 2,000 cases of child abuse a year. Because you have Indian reservations up there. There's a lot of alcohol and a lot of everything. So we hooked up with them, and we did 5 years with McMahon Ryan House, and we gave them an average of $45,000, $50,000 a year. We then went over, because I wanted to be not just one place. We met the people from Ronald McDonald House, and we did Ronald McDonald House for 5 years, and in 5 years we gave them $500,000. And it was wonderful. It was great. We loved it. We loved doing it. We've made so many friends. We had 65 stripers from all over the world. And I'm not exaggerating that. Ricky from Poland, and Flash and Mattissimo from Italy, and Neil Meliard from England, and Ken the Flat Top from Japan, and another guy from Australia came. And I got to do things like introduce Tom Kelly to Glenn Weisgerber for the first time. They had never met each other. Wow. They knew each other. They knew each other's work and everything like that. But it was, I remember one year standing up on stage looking around, and here's Nat Quick over in the corner doing a reproduction of the Blue Max funny car on the side of a fiberglass go-kart body. And then Glenn over here and Tom Kelly doing a surfboard together. Tom Kelly painting the South Pacific scene with his thumb, and Glenn doing all these ribbons all over the thing. And Mr. J doing a jungle gym. We found a go-kart with one of them fiberglass bodies on it, and he did the Jungle Gym car, which he had done originally. That was going. This was all going on at one time in the place, and it was just crazy. It was really good. The reason we stopped it, it was a 365-day-a-year proposition doing this thing, chasing the money, chasing the sponsorships, and it's probably our own doing, my wife and I. When you came to Artie's party, we had a Candlewood Suites hotel. You checked in for 3 nights, okay? When you checked out on Sunday, you only paid for 2 nights. We paid the third night. We had an $8,000 hotel bill every year. Thank God for PPG and for One Shot and some other companies, Tran Air Conditioning, because like I said, the building wasn't air conditioned. They would bring in these big portable air conditioning units for us and all. I had so much help, but it was just, you were chasing it constantly. And my wife and I both still work. And so it got really hard. And it just, I'm 77, she's 67 now. And it was just starting to wear on us a little bit. And she made the comment to me, she said, can we have a vacation sometime when it doesn't involve a car show? Because along the way, we're doing Artie's party. I wound up starting to do Santa Maria, West Coast Customs Cruise and Nationals, and then started doing the Grand National Roadster Show, which I only ran that for 1 year, and then Marshall Knapp took that over because there's just too many things going on at one time. But people don't understand the undertaking that it is to put something like this together. Those people came to Artie's party, got catered lunch and dinner every day. I mean, good food, no less, too, along with that 3-night hotel and a whole lot of other stuff. Anything I could get for them, I did, because it's people closing their shops, closing their businesses to come and work for free for the charity on behalf of my name. So I want to make sure they're well taken care of. But it still continues. Paul Puza, a real neat guy from up in New York State, came to me and said he wanted to keep it going. And he said, I want to keep your legacy going. And I said, that's cool. I said, but you can't call it Artie's party, and I'm not going to be there. And my reasoning for it, and it didn't turn out that way, but my reasoning for it was, as a kid, I never had a birthday party that was other than just my mother, father, my sister, and I. Like I said, my father was old country German, never had kids over the house. So this was my party, and I could do whatever the hell I wanted to. And it's exactly what I did. So I asked Paul to change the name. And then when I said about not being there, I didn't want to go and have people say, wow, this is cool, but I liked it better when you were doing this, or you did this, or you did. I wanted Paul to get a chance to stand on his own 2 feet and take the credit that he deserves for doing this thing. And he's done a great job. He's done a couple of years now. I still go to the show because I take care of Gene Winfield, and I created the Winfield Award there. And so I'm still there for that, and I still contribute to the charity auction, and I get to see all my friends and all too. So it's real good. But it still goes on. It's now called the Syracuse Brush Bash, and I believe they are going to do another one in Daytona, Florida, in the spring now too.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Plan from what I understand.
Yep. So but that's pretty much it on Artie's party. We loved it. It was great while we did it. It was really successful, and I'd rather go out on top than on the bottom. So there you go.
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard about it from the beginning, from when I started pinstriping. I was like, oh man, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And
here, I'll give you a little side note, and she'll probably hear this and probably kill me for it. The first year that Jen, Hot Rod Jen, first year that she came up there, she was so intimidated she didn't want to paint.
Oh man.
Because of the people that were there. And look at Jen. She could stand shoulder to shoulder, if not better than most of us. But that's why I say there was so much talent there, and there was a lot of talent that was developed there. There was a lot of people picked up on ideas from each other and the camaraderie. And I love it. If you ever go on the Artie's Party website, artiesparty.com, and go to the gallery, and there's a section on there of all the artists that try to take a picture of everybody. And something I always point out, every picture you see on there, they're smiling or laughing because they had such a good time. And that's what it's all about. The hotel parking lot at night got pretty crazy. I think it was second or third year, the hotel had 2 plain white vans that they use for airport transport, and somebody came up with a magic marker, and that was it. We wound up doing the whole van. I had to wipe them off after it was done and all. But the party in the parking lot was almost as good as the Artie's party during the daytime. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. So
I can only
good
imagine
memories.
if you get that many creative people together and
absolutely.
And especially maybe if there's a couple of cocktails at the end, I could see it getting.
Yes, there was always a couple of cocktails at the end, and even I mean the Candlewood Suites Hotel on Thursday night, the night before this all started, they did a barbecue, and with beer and wine coolers and all that stuff and all, they foot the bill for that thing for everybody staying there. That's why I say everybody up there just did so much to make this thing successful. Like I said, train air conditioning, coming in and put air conditioning in this building and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It was just crazy. It was crazy. And it was great. And we had a good time. You know, so, and people are still having a good time. They moved it to the big expo center, the new building, and it's air conditioned, which everybody likes a whole lot better. I used to make them suffer through it, but I just love the atmosphere of that old building, that horticulture building. But it's good. It's a good show, and I continue to do things. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to take a little plug here. If you're in Memorial Day weekend, if you can be out in California, you want to come up to Santa Maria to the West Coast Customs Cruise and Nationals. We do the brush bash out there. And we have a whole bunch of stripers, a whole bunch of my West Coast friends, and we raise money for the Rich Pichette Alzheimer's Foundation. And I guarantee you have never been to a car show that on Friday night, they close 17 blocks of Main Street, 2 lanes in either direction, wow. And it's open to cruise. And you get bubble top cars, you get everything out there. A few years back, I got to cruise Larry Watson's 50 Chevy with my wife. We were given the chance to take that out on the road. This year, I'm getting to cruise the Jade Idol, Gene Winfield's car. So I have a lot of fun. I just have a ball up there. And it's cool. And it's a lot of really good stripers, and again, for good causes. And all. So if you can make it out to California, it's a place to come to.
What weekend?
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, give us one more time, the location and date.
Santa Maria. And it's Memorial Day weekend, which is the last weekend in May. Santa Maria is about 2 hours north of LA. It's up by Pismo Beach. Beautiful community. And there's a lot of great stripers out in that area that come up, Tour Leaf Cars and Rick Malacott. And I'm going to forget everybody's names. Marshall comes out from Michigan. And it's just, again, it's a whole good bunch of people. Some of them rent an Airbnb. They rent a house so that you have places to stay. The inn has rooms, and there's other motels in town. Santa Maria Main Street reminds me of American Graffiti. It's just got that look to it, like from back in the 50s and early 60s, you know. So, but the amount of pure custom cars there is just off the wall. It's just incredible.
Is the Santa Maria show the one that used to be the Paso Robles show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The town of Paso Robles, the downtown merchants decided to uninvite them, and then ironically, a couple of years later, they tried to put on their own show, which was a bomb. And they've asked them to come back, but Santa Maria is Santa Maria. We don't need to do Paso Robles no more. It's all good. So,
I lived in Paso Robles a very long time ago, and that was the very first place I ever saw Pinstriper was at that show.
Really? No kidding. That's wild. Yeah, because Larry Watson used to be there all the time, among other people, you know. But there's some really talented guys up in that area, too. Tim Bromberg and, like I said, Tour Leaf Cars, Southpaw. Great artists. Really, really cool. So it's a real neat. Good show. And also the Grand National Roadster Show, which is now the first weekend in February. Marshall puts on the striping event there. That's in Pomona, California. It's a great car show, and it's a great event, and you'll see and meet a lot of the top stripers out in the West Coast. Tom Kelly's there every year, and Brad Stiles, and just a whole bunch of cool guys. It's really, really good.
Well, we appreciate the plug, man. We're gonna try to maybe I'll talk to Jack and see if we can make it up there. That'd be cool.
I'd love it if you guys decide if you go to any of these things, any events where I am, please let me know ahead of time, because a lot of times I have, the connection on hotel rooms and stuff like that. This year, first weekend in March, I'm going to be in Chicago at the Chicago Autorama. They're having a Rat Fink reunion there. Bob Bohonic, the great sign painter, has invited me, and I think the Pinstripe Police might show up out there.
There you go.
I think we're gonna
write some tickets.
We haven't done that in a long time, so yeah. Do we want to talk about that for a second, or am I too early on that?
Well, I was going to say, this is the first time I've ever heard the term the Pinstripe Police there.
Okay. Because you told me that you always ask a question at the end of this thing, so I guess I'm kind of preempting myself. Years ago, we had, this is prior to the book even, we were going to go to California to, we flew in and we are going to stick around California for a few days and visit some shops and then go to the SEMA show. So it was Howie Nesgar, Mikey Fredericks from Mamaroneck, New York, Mr. J from Paterson, New Jersey, and me, and Zeke Lemansky from up in Massachusetts, and Nubs from New York State, who was with the television programs. How easily we forget, with the Tuttles and all. And Nubs did all the painting on there. Anyway, so me being the organizer, I rented a van. We all flew into LAX. I was the first one in. I went and picked up this silver van, a window van, a Ford extended thing. And I get the van. And then, if you've ever flown in and out of LAX, you do not park in front of the terminal. You pick up and you move. They constantly move you. They have the whole staff of police doing that. Well, Mikey Fredericks flew in. I pick him up. We go over to a Big Boys parking lot, and Mikey says, check this out. And he made T-shirts, and it said East Coast Pinstripe Police and a badge over the pocket. And he says, when we go out to Winfield's, because we were on our way out to Gene Winfield's too for this gathering, when we go out to Winfield's, we can wear the shirts. I said, oh yeah, cool. He said, and I made these. And he made a pair of magnetic badges. And they were the East Coast Pinstripe Police and the badge, and he said, I figured we can put them on the van when we drive in. I said, hey man, let's put them on now. So we did. Went back to the airport, and I figured who we were picking up. And I pull up in front, and I had told everybody, when you get in and you get your baggage, call me, I'll pull up, get you, and we roll. Well, we get in, I think it might have been Jay, and I don't know if it was miscommunication. Pull up and I stop, and Jay doesn't come out right away. So I'm sitting and I'm watching the rearview mirror for the cops, and here comes a cop. I said, oh boy, we're gonna have to move. Comes walking by, looks at the badge, looks at me, goes, how you doing? I says, okay, good. Kept on walking. Literally, the director of security for the airport came by and stopped and talked to me for like 5 minutes. They never looked at the badges to see what they said. They thought we were a police van. I sat in front of that terminal for almost an hour. So everybody got out and got in the car. And then we left the badges on and drove around LA with it, which there was a whole lot of stories that we could take on from that. But that's, we all went out to Winfield's, and that's how the Pinstripe Police came about. And it was a joke, and it still is a joke. I mean, we're not anything better than anybody else, but it made for a lot of fun. So when we go to Detroit, or Chicago this year, to Bob Bohonic's, we're all going to get together and go. And I still have the badges. I got them sticking on the door here in my shop. So whatever rental van I get, we'll have the badges on, and we'll go on patrol in Chicago.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you can't have fun, what the hell's the sense of doing it? So
yeah, you should get a little booklet. You could write tickets, man. When you see people doing some silly stuff, you could write them a ticket. Have a fine.
That would be a good idea, a bad line fine or something like that, or you're using the wrong paint or something. Yeah. But no, that would be cool. Do something like that. And
there you go. Keep on going with it. Keep on.
You just planted the seed.
Yeah, keep adding to it. I want to see some fines. I want to see people paying checks.
That would be great.
And if
that'd be a lot of fun to do.
And if you made the fine for like 35 cents, I think people would actually write the check and send it.
I tell you, driving around that week. I mean, like I said, we were out at Winfield's and we went to SEMA and stuff. Driving around the van. I mean, between the six of us, I mean, you're just constantly laughing because, like I said, the chop busting going back and forth and stuff like that. And we were on our way back into LA to fly home. And Mr. J's wife calls and was telling him about a customer who Jay had done a job for. And the guy came back and thought that he should get more for his money. And we're listening to this conversation. And Jay's talking to her. Jay's like, well, I did a good job. I mean, it was fine. He was happy with it and all stuff and all. I mean, I'm supposed to give him more stuff, and he's starting to get wound up a little bit with this. And we started egging him on. We're saying, I wouldn't take that from a customer. Tell him to stuff it or something like that. And we're going back, and we got him so wound up that he's like, I had to stop the van on the side of the 405. I was going to wet my pants, and we had to get out. And we were laughing so hard. But those are them little things that go on when we all get together and make it a lot of fun. So it's cool.
Yeah, man, in good spirit. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
well, Artie, I don't think we ever got your information, like where you're at, and if you got a website, or if you got any stuff like that. Like, first off, how do you pronounce your last name so we don't mess it up on the intro?
Shilling, like English money, like 26 cents a shilling piece. Okay. But it's SCH. Like I said, my dad was from Germany, so that's the German answer. I actually found out here about 3 months ago that there is a Schilling's Castle.
Oh, wow.
So from now on, I'd like you gentlemen to treat me a little bit better because I am from royalty apparently.
All right.
Yeah, and my wife says I'm a royal pain in the ass, so that kind of fits right in there. But no, yeah, my last name is Schilling. I'm in Surfside Beach, South Carolina. Where the sun always shines, and 80 people a day move in here, which is driving us nuts. But we're like a half a mile down the street from the ocean, which makes it really nice. My shop is here. You can go on eastcoastarty.com, all lowercase, I guess. I don't know if it makes a difference. eastcoastarty.com. I also have artiesparty.com, which tells the whole background and has all the pictures of the Artie party thing and stuff like that. And my East Coast Artie site is about to get kind of a tune-up. I haven't changed it in quite a while, and I want to do more, just more of a gallery. I've been starting to do watercolors again, which I stopped doing. I'm not formally trained in anything. I don't have an art education, so it's always by accident. But I started taking some watercolor classes on Wednesday with this great lady and doing more. So I want to start just posting more of my work. And I've got pictures of well over 100 panels that I've done over the years for different charity events and all. And my daughter is the one who's really encouraging. She's trying to get me to write a book, which I refuse to do. But I'm going to kind of set this up with all my work. And it's more for her benefit and for my grandkids and stuff like that. So they have kind of a record or whatever of what I do or what I've done, So I'm in the process of working on that and getting that together too in between. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, my cell phone number is 843-995-1043. I'm always available to talk to people. I'm always glad to talk to people. If I'm busy and I say, geez, I'm sorry, I got to call you back, please understand that. But other than that, I love to hear from people.
Well,
you've just set yourself up for a ton of prank calls.
Yeah, I know. And I almost could tell you who is going to be the first one. Okay. I can just about guarantee I know who that is. Mr. J will get me somehow. If he's listening to this thing, he'll do something to me. But that's okay. I love it. Make me laugh. It's good, so just don't ask me for money. Anyway, that was a joke.
That was going to be my next question, man. You just stopped me from. It's only $50, but no, it's a.
Oh yeah, do I? Okay, yeah.
I was going to say earlier, you said you're borrowing money from me, so I know you don't have much.
That's how you had money.
Oh God, I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. What you guys are doing is a great thing. Okay. And I admire you for it, and I don't know what the word is. I'm not good with that stuff, but you guys deserve a lot of credit for doing this. Just these kind of conversations like we've had here today, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope somebody out there gets something from it. But this is the kind of thing we need to do. We need to communicate. We need to take the new young people that are coming in and kind of help them along the way, but at the same time teach them to be humble, I guess, so that it doesn't go off in the wrong direction. We're all just artists, and we all just paint. We all do what we love to do, and we love cars and motorcycles and things like that. And all, so it's something that's really, really a cool thing, and I'm honored to be part of. So thank you guys for doing this podcast deal, because I know I'm comfortable knowing that there's at least 4 people out there now that will have. That was a joke. No, I hope you're reaching a lot of people, and I think it's just a great thing that you're doing. So thank you, and thank you for having me on. Awesome.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we appreciate you just doing your thing and creating such a big legacy, and such big shoes to fill. So we're thankful to have you on as well, especially with everything you've done, and like I said, the legacy that you're still creating.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And if anybody's coming to South Carolina, of course, Myrtle Beach is the big attraction, and we're 6 miles down the road from Myrtle Beach. Give me a call. I'd love to have you come by the shop and hang out and go to Dagwoods and eat some food and stuff like that.
All right. Well,
all right.
Jack, do you got anything else, Jack?
No, I think that's pretty good. I know I spent a little bit of time with Artie not here too long ago, and he's got a lot of stories, so we might have to have him back some other time.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back if you're cool with that, Artie.
Yeah. And some of them are G-rated too. No, we had a lot of fun doing this. This just came in my mind and went right out of my mind. This is crazy. But no, it's been great. It's been great talking to you guys, and thank you so very much for letting the old guy babble on here. It was really cool.
Well,
that's awesome.
We appreciate you.
I know what I'm sorry. I just remembered what it is. I got to put a plug in here for us.
Go ahead.
If you're traveling across country, go to Salina, Kansas, to the Garage Museum in Salina. Yeah. It's a great automotive museum, and our exhibit that the 3 of us are all involved in, along with Wizard and Howie and a bunch of people. There's a couple hundred pieces of artwork by all of us that started off in the Butler Museum of American Art in Ohio. We had an exhibit there, and it is now moved to Salina, Kansas, to the Garage Museum, and it's on display there amongst a whole bunch of great custom cars. So I would encourage everybody to stop in and check it out and see the work. And I believe if I can hold them to it, and I'm sure I will, after the exhibit is done there, it is going to go to the Museum of Speed up in Nebraska, which is really great museum, just really phenomenal looking place. But I believe the display is going to go up there, and from there it is possibly going to the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles. So we're going to get to have our stuff out all over the country, which is a real honor. It was cool.
Yeah, and I think Steve told us that you actually went and physically took the stuff up there with him. So we appreciate you very much for helping out with that, man. I heard it was a big kind of a pain in the butt to get it up there.
Well, I left here and drove 10 hours to Steve's place in Ohio, stayed over. We loaded my truck as soon as I got there. I mean, and I've got a Chevy with a cap on it, and it was to the top of the cap. And went to bed, got up in the morning, left at 5 in the morning, drove to Kansas City, had dinner with Slick and Tiny, two great stripers, and next morning drove into Salina, Kansas, unpacked everything, helped them set the whole display up, and then back to Kansas City, dropped Steve off at the airport to fly home to Ohio, and then I cut down across Missouri, stopped and striped the car, and went on to Paducah, Kentucky, stayed overnight, and got home the next day. It did a kind of a road trip, but it was a lot of fun. Steve and I had a really good time just driving out there talking about everybody. So it was great.
Well, we thank you for your help, man. We thank you for driving the stuff up there, and we thank you for being awesome. And it's not every day you get a chance to talk to a living legend, so thank you very much, Artie.
That's all smoke and mirrors, man. Don't believe it. Okay. Take care, guys. Thank you so much again. I'll be seeing you down the road here, okay?
All righty.
Thank you,
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Stick around for a little candid conversation between Jack and I.
No, I had an opportunity to go down to the Houston Autorama for the panel jam that they had there. You and I, at one point in time, had talked about trying to record at that, but it just kind of didn't work out. But it was really cool. Really small panel jam. I think there might have been, 4 or 5 of us that were kind of there for 3 days, and a few other people that came in and out. But one of the things I thought would be kind of cool to share too, actually. I was sitting there one day, striping. I think I was working on a skateboard or something. We had some longboards. And this guy comes up with his little boy, and I think it was his dad and his uncle, and he says, "Hey, are you the Fleming from the podcast?"
Oh, look at that.
And I said, "Yeah." He started telling me how he listened to it, and he's probably listening to this, I'm sure. But it was kind of cool. He started showing me some pictures and stuff of his work, and he said he'd only been at it for, I think, a year and a half. And man, for a year and a half in, I thought he was doing amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, said he's been practicing every single day. Said, man, you got to jump in and just paint with us. And he kind of sort of blew it off a little bit and walked away. And I guess he told me later that his uncle, I think it was, had said, man, you need to go jump over there and do that. And he ended up doing a panel with us and all. And I just thought that was really cool. It's kind of how I did my first panel jam too. I showed up just to meet some people and see stuff, and next thing I knew, I was there painting. So
yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, the Pinstripers will put a brush in your hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is cool, man. And you know what? That's probably a memory that kid's gonna have for the rest of his life. Hopefully,
Yeah, I hope so. And I mean, to top it off too, it's a total testament to daily practice. I mean, he had the confidence to jump in there.
Yes. And when you're seeing other people pinstripe, you kind of get the itch to pick up the brush. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure he was nervous or whatever. I'm sure, he kind of was like, oh, this and that. But deep down inside, he wanted to paint next to everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would think so.
Yeah.
So the other story.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The other story that I had from that I thought was super cool. Again, I'm sitting there, I've been pinstriping. The guy that runs that one down there is my friend Johnny Carpenter. Another striper that was there is Sam San Felipe. He's out of Alabama. And then there was, like I said, a handful of other people. There was a guy, Mark. There was a guy named, I think it was Robert. And right next to me was Robert and Bob. I thought was interesting. But anyhow, the guy, Robert, he'd been striping forever. Long line dealership guy. Sam Felipe. He's a sign painter, also a pinstriper. And he was telling me that I guess the day before, maybe it was the first day of it or whatever it was, there was a young girl that had come up and had some interest. And I guess he had talked to her and got her to do a couple of lines and was really blown away with how well she was doing for the first time picking up a brush. Said that she was probably going to come back. What I thought was neat is when she came back, I looked over there and he's like got a panel out for her and giving her kind of a lesson. Had to come watch, pretty impressed. Pretty much everybody there, like I've always seen, with Pinstripers, totally excited for anyone who wants to learn. And before you knew it, there's like 3 or 4 people sitting here all giving her lessons and stuff. I think she might have been like 16 or something. But she's got guys that have been at it for, 40 plus years sitting here giving her lessons at this panel jam, and she's just taking it all in. I was learning stuff from watching and contributing what I knew, and it was cool.
Yeah, that's, again, another testament to the community, right?
Yeah.
And another youngster that hopefully will take that as a positive experience, unlike the generations before where they had a lot of negative experiences. I think a lot of it's turned around.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's been positive experiences out there too.
Oh, for sure. But generally, I think the some of the old timers would keep it from, like Steve said, and how
hiding the brush.
Yeah, hiding the brush, not showing stuff, and then kicking them out so they could do the real work, so they don't have to have somebody learning their trade and this and that. But I think it's right. Really taken a 360 to where folks are really willing to teach now.
Yeah, I'm still on the daily hearing people say, "Oh, it's a lost art, it's a dying art thing." Man, I think it's anything but.
I think it's the general public is still unaware of pinstriping. So when folks say it's a lost art, I think it's just in their general overview.
Right.
Because it's to them, they're not seeing the growth, they're not seeing what we see, being involved in it. But yeah, I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's coming up. It's like a grassroots situation, right?
Yeah. It's
kind of coming up and it's moving fast. So
that's why we got to be out there and let people see it.
That's for sure. Yeah. And it's I think it's one of the reasons we decided to pick up the mics and do this podcast so we can document the history, and continue and try to engulf ourselves even more into this art craft.
Did we mention before on the last podcast that we did that you've got a class coming up, or?
No, that happened. I think we've solidified that between the last one and now. But yeah, I have a class coming up in March in Tampa at the Florida State Fairgrounds. I think that's what it's called. But it's really close to my house here. It's like the fairgrounds, very, very close, 15 minutes. But we're going to have 25 people, 25 chairs. And we're going to be teaching for 3 days. I got Robert Messenger is going to be the other teacher. And we're going to be kind of splitting it. So, he's going to be doing mostly old school dagger style, and I'm going to show what I know on scroll style. And we're still working out the details on how we're going to work out day by day, but I think it's going to kind of develop every day a little bit more. So first day, straight basics, like, the tools, the paint, the things needed and such, and just kind of getting started. And then the next day a little bit more, and then the last day is as advanced as we could show.
Yeah. You got to plug your stuff there,
Yeah. It's it's a little nerve-wracking, and I think we've discussed this before. It's like, I know I got the YouTube videos. I know that I've shown a lot of stuff to a lot of people. I think I have over 1 million views. And just like Artie said, I got people from Brazil that thank me for my videos. I got people from South Africa that thank me for the videos. I got people from the Philippines and this and that. So I feel like I've kind of already been in some ways teaching, but I've not done any formal teaching like this. And I still consider myself a person that's still learning. But I think I do have something to contribute. And I think at bare minimum, I can show folks the basics. I know the basics. So I feel like I'm comfortable where I could show that. It's just really doing it and seeing how it works and getting the feedback from the people, you know?
Well, I know if we get together at some point in time, I'm going to pressure a scroll lesson out of you. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think that the difficult part, man, and I've been drawing them little sheets that I've been sending you. You got all 4 of them, I think at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing step-by-step sheets, and they're going to be given to the students when they come. That way they have something to practice on. We're going to have some clear laminate that you could put over it so you could practice and wipe it off. But these have handwritten instructions. I thought about maybe selling them down the line, but I think I'm going to wait until after the class. That way there's a little more incentive for the class, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm doing them, I'm realizing what's probably the most difficult thing about scrolling is going backwards. Halfway through the loop, or at the beginning of the loop, at some point in the loop, you're no longer going down and pulling the line. You're pushing the line away from you.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Blindly, because your hand is in the way. At some point, you have no visual cue as to what that brush is doing, and you're going the opposite direction that you've always gone with pinstriping. With your normal sword brush, you're always pulling that line, right?
Usually, typically,
you're pulling a line. You're generally not pushing it, let alone pushing it with the brush going the opposite direction, right?
Right.
So with the scroll brush, it's kind of a 360 thing. It's not only and not only 360, but if you want the thick to thin lines, like, you know, I do the little feather shapes, or when in the middle of a loop, you can do an S curve that kind of gets fat. Well, at that point, you're going from a dedicated line to a fatter line, which entails pushing down on the brush, right? And then lifting back up. So there you not only are you going backwards and away from you and not being able to see the line, but at some point you're kind of doing 3D. You're going up and down with the brush. So there's a lot of little things to it that I could see folks considering it's sort of unnatural feeling, you know?
Right.
And that's the type of stuff I think I can maybe contribute to this class. You know, I think like I said, it's a little bit what's that term where you feel like there's like a term where it's like a fraud syndrome or something like that.
It's the imposter syndrome.
So you feel like, are you good enough to be doing this stuff? Or but at some point you just got to take a leap and see how it goes. You know?
Yeah.
See how it goes. And I've had a lot of folks over the years ask me, are you ever going to teach classes? Even when this came out, I had folks like, you coming to Arizona? Are you coming here? Are you coming there? So we'll see how it goes, man. I'm excited about it. It's going to be, again, with Robert Messenger. He is a pinstriper for many, many years. He's been doing it since he was a little kid. Custom painter mostly. Airbrush artist and this and that. And I think he just moved out to Texas. And I think he is connected now to that Orion paint.
Yeah, I saw him in Houston, and he had said that he had just moved out, I think the day before I saw him.
Yeah, he just moved. He's got a bunch of stuff to move, too. He's got a bunch of old cars and such. Because he's been doing hot rod stuff since he's a kid. So he's had his own shop. And he's a real cool guy. He's real humble. I've really taken a liking to him, and we become friends pretty quickly. And I think the last time I saw him, I think I was going to drop off some panels for him to paint for me. And he's like, yeah, just come to the shop. I'll be out there doing some stuff. He was working out of a shop in Clearwater. I think it was called Roosters. I don't remember exactly. But I drive out there, and I'm thinking he's going to be in the shop. And I go up there, and all the shop doors are closed, and I keep driving. And I notice this guy in the back underneath a tree. And I pull up, and he's back there filling in some car parts with like a paint. I think it was emblems, but he's just sitting underneath a tree, doing his thing, just by himself, like out there working. And it's like there's probably not much more of a thing that you can like attach yourself to other than being by yourself painting, right? So I'm like, oh, look, there's another guy that's out there just by himself painting. So
like my daily life.
Yeah, very, very relatable. Yeah, I just pulled up. I was like, man, that's so relatable just to see somebody literally by themselves, paint all over, struggling with something. You know what I mean?
Well, if he's in Texas now and I'm in Texas, it looks like you're going to have to make a visit to Texas sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm down. He actually asked if I'd be willing to do classes out there, and I think they're trying to do some in Atlanta. I think between him and the Orion group, I think they're trying to develop some sort of class group of.
Yeah, he mentioned like an online learning kind of deal that they're trying to get going.
Yeah, and like I said, I've already got the videos out there, so I don't know. I'm just going with the flow, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know really people. I don't know anything about anybody. And if somebody's like, "Hey, I'd like for you to be involved with something," I'm to the point where I'm just like, "Okay."
You're not as reluctant as you were when I asked you to jump in with this.
No, well, I don't think I was reluctant with this. I think if the thought process was like, "How do we do it?"
Yeah, no, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, I think that when you were like, "Hey, let's do that," I'm thinking, "Oh, what would be the best way?"
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the things that folks, I think maybe they like that about me is I think maybe some people will bring some stuff up, not really thinking I'll do it, and I'll just be like, "Okay," and then we're just doing it. I
got to tell you, kind of a different deal there, but kind of on the same thing. Artie mentioned the deal in Santa Maria. My wife's family's like 30 minutes from there. I'm pretty heavily thinking about it if you wanted to make a trip together.
Yeah, it's going to be Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
I have
to figure it out. I know I'm already making a couple of trips next year.
Yeah, we'll find out. The only thing that I'm thinking on that is I don't know when the Nauvoo thing is, and I've kind of already
right.
Yeah,
I feel like a little later.
I think Nauvoo's the first weekend of September.
Yeah, that seemed like it was late summer.
I don't know. We don't have seasons here in Florida.
I'm going to try and come to that deal down in Florida, and I think it's March. So
yeah, that's in March, which you could totally crash here if you need to. So if you need to figure that out too, it sucks. I can't go because we're doing the class at the same time. So it's catch-22, but maybe
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe next year. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. I got a chance to do a car, a little Ford. It was really fun. The guy kind of lowballed me, so I'm kind of learning my prices. I'm no longer feeling comfortable with being lowballed, and so I'm learning on that too, price wise.
Yeah, I've learned over the past year of doing a ton of stinking car shows to stick to my guns on prices.
Yeah, I mean, I
not a barter thing.
I did do some bartering to try to get my value out of the situation, but the dude was not really comfortable, and the price was pretty low. I think we discussed it. The price was pretty low, and he was like, "Well," I think he said something like, I mentioned a certain number, and he was like, "Well, if you were going to go for that, then I probably wouldn't have invited you back," and that was it. I thought, well, you know what, man? I'm probably never coming back. So I'm going to come back for these panels that you owe me. And then I think we're probably going to be done.
Yeah. We all lowball some stuff sometimes on accident too. But
I mean, if you're comfortable with the price, you're comfortable with price. If you feel like, right, give this guy a break or whatever, if it's going to lead to some other stuff, I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of being shitty about it, it's like, And he was very picky. Like, Artie was saying about being real low for stuff that's super low. So he had some fenders on the car, and I was doing some designs on the fenders, and like extremely low. I mean, 5-6 inches.
Need some help getting up.
No, I did not need help getting up. But, you're really far down there, and you're trying to do some intricate stuff. Like I did symmetrical designs on each one. I should have gone asymmetrical, but I did symmetrical because I thought it'd look cool. And sure enough, like maybe one side was just a little bit lower as far as like the flare outs that were going outward. And he'd walk by and be like, "Yeah, that's a little bit lower than that one." It's like, So I'd fix that. Nitpicking here and there. That line's just a little thicker than that one. It's like, oh man, dude, you're gonna nitpick and you're not gonna pay.
Hey, I think I might have told you before. I had a guy. It's been a few years ago that after I did his bike, Big Goldwing, he went through and took pictures, and then actually layered the picture from one side over the other side. And like, they don't match.
Oh man, yeah.
Like, geez.
They are never gonna match. I mean, the only way you could make it match is if you stencil,
Yeah.
Wow. No.
Yeah,
those are the challenges, man, that you come across. That, and I hate to be this guy about it, but it makes me glad I keep my day job because, man, that type of stuff. I don't know. I guess you just learn how to work around it, right? You learn how to work with it. But it's like, I don't know.
I think, one thing that I learned that's kind of off of what you were saying there, when I price nowadays, if I know that something's going to be really low for me to work on, it's going to be a challenge, it's going to take me more time, or even really high. If somebody wants like long lines down the side of a lifted truck or something, that's not going to be easy. I charge more for that stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Got to factor it in because it's definitely going to take me more time and be more of a challenge, and there's more people that would walk away because of it.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, learning slowly, man. But I'm going to be doing a charity skateboard for Flying Pistons through
I saw the
magazine. Yeah, I
call for artists on that.
Yeah, I put my name in the hat. Somebody tagged me in it. I think it's a fella by the name of Austin Gunter. Shout out to Austin. He's been he's purchased quite a bit of my art. So
that's cool.
Yeah, big shout out to Austin Gunter. And he tagged me in the thing, and he's like, "Oh, I think they're looking for artists." And I said, "Well, I'll put my name in the hat, And sure enough, somehow I got picked. I think there's like 20 artists.
Yeah, I think I saw Steve Shizaka's on it, and I don't remember who else.
I can't remember. Yeah, there's quite a bit. And
I'm pretty sure. What's that?
It's actually quite a few different mediums from what it looks like. Like it's painting, but it's a lot of different types of painting.
Right. Well, I saw that gnarly skateboard contest that they had, and I didn't enter this one, but it looked like it had more like art stuff on it than pinstriping than I've seen. That's still going on right now.
I think I can imagine this is going to be similar, but because I don't do art, I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to do
Yeah, do you?
I don't know how to draw a deer or stuff or like a beach scene. So I'm gonna. No
one expects you to do anything else.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna hit it hard with a nice big scroll all the way through, and go back to what I was doing a few years ago, like real intricate, color fades and this and that. Unfortunately, they sent me a wood grain colored skateboard, and as you know, I don't spray nothing. I have no way of making this thing nice. So I'm just going to throw that in the closet and order me a set of black skateboards. That way I got a nice black background. Yeah. I have no idea what else to do besides, I guess I could bother somebody and see if they'll paint something for me or pay them or whatever. But then I don't know the turnaround time and this and that, Yeah. I've ordered a number of black skateboards online. They're cheap enough, $40 for a set. But I do know that they hold up very well to erasing. So
they got a clear coat on them that they come with. It's pretty good.
Something's nice. And matter of fact, I saw a guy. I think his name was Isaiah. He uses them as his practice board. Like that's what that's what he uses to practice on. I thought, damn, that's a pretty good idea because it grabs the paint good. It's a solid painted object, and you can erase on it.
And it's got some curves to it.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good idea to use that, and it's solid, And if you do get something you really like and you don't want to get rid of, there you go. It's already a cool skateboard that you could sell.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to knock out. I've got 4 or 5 blank skateboards sitting around. I want to try and knock them all out at once. A little bit of a challenge.
Well, I need to just start at least doing some airbrush, and that way I can give myself some nice backgrounds. So that's probably going to be one of the goals for next year is get myself at least some sort of starter airbrush. And I understand that there's water-based things that I could spray in the apartment that aren't too harsh, right?
Don't ask me.
Oh, I thought you knew about. Okay,
I don't know on that one.
Yeah, I might have to talk to Robert or Eddie. I got Eddie Z here down the road. He's awesome. He's an amazing airbrush artist here in Clearwater. But maybe he could show me some stuff. But I think bare minimum, why not get me a little airbrush just for cool backgrounds, you know?
That's actually, I'm trying to get either my garage set up or get another shop space or whatnot. Get myself set up to where I can at least, spray everything I want to spray for panels, skateboards, maybe even motorcycles, small stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need a lot of space for that. I saw there was a fellow that I did that Jack Daniels thing, and he was working out of storage units. I think 2 combined storage units was his little. Yeah. One was his paint booth, one was his little office, and they're not very big, but all he ever does is motorcycles. He's got it's well lit, it's well lit, and it's sort of ventilated.
And you open up that big door.
Yeah, I think that's what he does. Yeah, I think that's what he does. And he's busted out, from what I understand, award-winning paint jobs out of there,
Yeah, no, I've met several shops that work out of storage units. But, it has to be a storage unit where they're okay with that, have electricity and whatnot.
Yeah, well, this place was not in a very good part of town. I don't think they care. I think as long as you're paying the rent. It's very industrial, very kind of rough there. But yeah, that's what's going on with me, man.
Well, I guess on my end, I just wrapped up my last car show for the year and trying to figure out ones for next year.
Oh yeah, I saw the post. You're looking for some car shows.
Yeah, I posted that this morning.
All right, well, I'll take
Maybe
a look.
Find something I haven't done.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll see if there's anything out there that I spot that you don't know about.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Well, man, I guess we could probably get off of here and go get about our days.
All right, Jack. Well, it was good talking to you, man, and have a good week and good weekend.
Yeah, it was a good talk with Artie, too. So
Oh, yeah.
I think this will be a great episode.
Yeah, I think people will enjoy it, man. And also, folks, if y'all want to sponsor an episode, we're asking $20 minimum. You can give us as much money as you want, but it helps us keep the light on, helps us keep it moving forward, and helps us a little bit for our time, put some groceries in the refrigerator.
Or at least pay for the bills of running the podcast.
Yes. Yeah. Pay for the podcast because it costs money to do it. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for listening, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.
All righty. See you later.
All right, brother. Bye.